We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this channel. This Rebel Outpost channel with a donation. Just hit the $ when you make a comment and we'll get to your super chat as quick as possible. Welcome into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Man, I got to tell you, we won't be able to get through it all today. The chatter behind the curtain, the chatter is growing loud. I'm seriously, I'm wondering. We're going to just have to wait on this, on the March 22nd court date in Mecklenburg County on April 9th. But I'm in Leon County. And we're going to go through it. Florida State has shot back at the ACC in Leon County, because remember, they're going back and forth. ACC wants a stay or dismissal on Florida State, trying to have that home court advantage in Leon County. ACC believes it should be in North Carolina. Florida State answers back in Leon County. We're going to go through that today the best I can. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a complete idiot. You guys all know that. But we're going to do the best we can. Plus, we all learn from the PATC community, who is very intelligent. So we're all going to learn together. But I have been on the side of where that settlement ain't going to happen for a while. I'm getting really close from stepping off that ledge and going on to another ledge. I'm wondering if that settlement doesn't happen. I'm starting to the PATC Sportsbook might be putting up some shocking odds on the board. Remember, I think it was February 24th, 2023. We did a live show and we said PATC Sportsbook, the odds now favors the Big 12 from poaching the Pac-12. At least one or more school. February 24th and February 22nd. I don't remember. 2023. I made that live show on the PATC Sportsbook. You know, the sportsbook that's down a couple blocks down on Keith Jackson Parkway away from the Holy Smokes Theater. I got raked over the coals, all over Twitter, all over everything. Because we said it so early, because of all the chatter that was going behind the curtain. I had to do it. I knew that Dennis Dodd and Brett McMurphy and Pete Thamel and Heather Dinich and Nicole Arbach and go right down the line. They were not exaggerating the bad news for the Pac-12 within their media negotiations. They were underplaying it. They weren't a part of some stupid conspiracy plot with Endeavor. They were actually underplaying it. They were understating it. The negative, what was going on in the Pac-12. So we jumped on and said that PATC Sportsbook, the odds now favor the Big 12 to poach. I got crucified. We are not there yet. But negotiating settlement in the year 2024, the odds say that is not the favorite. You could probably get plus 1,200 on that play in the PATC Sportsbook. But the odds might change here. I'm not going to step into that today. But just keep your head on a swivel. I think things are getting nasty. They've been nasty, but things... I almost believe... Well, I better not go there. Better not go there. Okay, so we're going to talk about the I know a lot of people don't know it. This happened yesterday. I was told this morning. There was a buzz on Twitter. I got help finding the Leon County. For whatever reason, I could not find the latest brief from Florida State. I got a lot of help from Twitter. I'm so thankful for you all at the PATC community. I found it. We've got it. I'm going to show it. And we're going to talk about it. We did an episode today on Trev Alberts leaving Nebraska, athletic director going to Texas A&M. We did an episode on it. If you missed it, go watch it. We're going to hit another article just quickly on that. The Athletic. Is it official yet? I know a lot of Nebraska Cornhuskers are saying, well, it's not official quite yet. Maybe this is part of a negotiation ploy that Trev Alberts is doing. Let me know in the peek around the corner. Let me know in the chat room if you believe this may not be official. We're just going to hit that really quickly. And then we're going to spotlight the Indiana Hoosiers. Every day, live show, we spotlight a different team. We're going all over the country. Today is the Indiana Hoosiers. New head coach Cignetti. Pumping up a lot of optimism, getting that fan base, getting the NIL collective, getting everybody in line for the Indiana Hoosiers. Okay, so we're going to talk about Indiana, and then we're going to get to the Florida State case. We dropped in episode 379. Please go watch it when you get a chance of the Trev Alberts. We dropped an early peek episode 27 for Cloak and Dagger. For members only, we just dropped it a little bit ago. We were working on it this morning, and I had to step away. We worked back at it. We dropped it. We're not going to talk about we're not going to talk about it on the live show today, this afternoon. But we're going to hit it tomorrow. But if you want an early peek Cloak and Dagger episode on a movement inside the Holy Smokes Theater, go hit that join button, become a member. I tell you, man, when you every once in a while you're reading a report, an article from a major college football reporter, and they're interviewing somebody, and some athletic director, some president says, "Yeah, realignment's not over. Big change is still happening." You remember when President Carter said that, the president of Nebraska? Then he became, at Ohio State, president. All that is, it's just not over yet. It's just not over yet. There's another wave a-coming. Okay, so we got a lot to get through. Let me thank everybody who's come on in early in the show. Just a lazy Wednesday afternoon. We're probably not going to... the only way I can see us coming on live again tonight, if there's a major breaking story on CFP, College Football Playoffs 2026 and beyond. But on Wednesday nights, the Flugar household, me and the little general, we're awfully busy on Wednesday night. So usually you don't see us do a show Wednesday night. So we started early on this Wednesday. I want to thank everybody who's come on in. Patrick Baylor Bayer's in. The Walking Geek. KS Bear FN is in the house. Chris Evans, Chief Fan. Sheep in Wolf's Clothing is on time. Tony, Tough Tony. Cornelius Green, praise the Lord, Greg. I appreciate Cornelius Green in the house. Friends, call me Sean. Bill G, early peak member. Suzanne, will the drama be ending soon? No. Don't think it'll be ending soon, but I think it's going to be ending sooner than I thought it was going to end. But not soon. Thank you for coming on in. Suzanne, John is in the house. Derek Marie is in the house. The architect is in the house. David M, J Go Blue, A Mac, Christopher Shannon, Mr. Husky, Ted Evans. What's the chatter? Anthony Carlson is in the house. The big Lubbock early peak member, David Hackett. It's Wednesday with PATC. Get ready for Cloak and Dagger. Benjamin Griffin, holy smokes. Dr. L. Smith, go Gophers. Go Green. Wow. Skull Ducky. Skull Ducks, he's here. Jared Jones. Hola, amigos. Mr. Buckeye is in the house. Love Sports is in the house. Are you Tony? Jersey is in the house. Daniel, Michael Uten, holy smokes. Look at this generosity. From Expedition Greg, thank you so much. You are hereby Cloak and Dagger knighted once again. puts out a gift membership, Sheep and Wolves Clothing, you are hereby, because of the generosity of Expedition Greg, Sheep in Wolves Clothing, you are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. Congratulations to Sheep and Wolves Clothing. You can now watch early peak Cloak and Dagger members only episodes. So go watch it after the show, though. After this show, thank you, Expedition Greg, for your continued kindness and generosity to the channel. John is in the house. Canes all day is in the house. Thomas Hickman. Ed Bagley is here. Stop the chit chat and get on with the program. Holy smokes. I'm saying thank you for everybody to come on into the program. This is how we do it. We're not for everybody. I can say that. This show is not for everybody, but I appreciate you coming on in, Ed Bagley. Jay Chapman, late but present. Let's get to the Trev Alberts. Shocking news. If it's official, I don't know if it's official yet. This is from The Athletic. Bruce Feldman, Mitch Sherman, Max Olson. Nebraska Trev Alberts has been targeted by Texas A&M. We're not going to go through the whole article. We're just going to go through it quickly. The Houston Chronicle first reported the news on Wednesday. Alberts, a former Buckus Award-winning linebacker in Nebraska, took over at the AD in 2021. It's only 2024. It's early in 2024. He served at the University of Nebraska, Omaha for 12 years. Last month, Alberts was named in a lawsuit filed by former Nebraska women's basketball player Ashley Scoggin. In the lawsuit, Scoggin accused coach Amy Williams and Alberts of failing to protect her from former assistant women's basketball coach Chuck Love. Love, according to the lawsuit, coerced Scoggin into a sexual relationship. Is that the reason why Alberts is leaving? See, that wasn't covered in the Houston Chronicle or some Nebraska reports earlier today. I don't know if that's the reason. The whole thing seems odd to me. The whole thing seems odd to me. What does this mean for Nebraska? It's a disaster if Alberts is leaving. Alberts quickly became the primary source for stability within Nebraska athletics after his hire in July 21. His pursuit of Matt Rule in 2022 and hire of the football coach brought calm to the tumultuous period after the failure and firing of native son Scott Frost. Well, native son Scott Frost was the head coach. He failed miserably. Trev Alberts is also a native son in Nebraska. Matt Rule cited Alberts and Ted Carter, then the University of Nebraska. It was vital in his decision to even come to Nebraska. Carter left. He's with Ohio State. And now Trev Alberts might be going to Texas A&M. Alberts backed men's basketball coach Fred Hoiberg after he won just 24 games in first three seasons. And now they're up to 22-9. They're going to go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 10 years. Alberts also launched an effort to renovate Memorial Stadium, $450 million project that would replace the south end of the 100-year stadium after the 24 season. All of it without Alberts in charge is at risk. Mitch Sherman, Nebraska sports writer. What does this mean for Texas A&M, for the Aggies? This would be a home run hire. It's extremely impressive that Texas A&M leadership, led by first-year president Mark Welsh, managed to pull Alberts away from his alma mater, and pulling this off must have been expensive. And finally, in the article, In less than 3 years at Nebraska, Alberts has emerged as one of the more influential athletic directors in the industry. In College Station, he won't have to lead dramatic stadium renovation projects like the one he was facing at Nebraska. He can focus on helping the Aggies chase championships and usher the athletic department through these turbulent, transformative times in college athletics. And AD with a strong football background should be especially beneficial for new coach Elko and his efforts to build up a college football playoff contender, Max Olson from The Athletic. This was shocking news. Nobody gave hint to this. Trev Alberts just signed a new contract in November, $1.7 million, and that contract pays Trev Alberts to $2.1 million in 2026. Is it the lawsuit that's pushing Trev Alberts out the door? He has granted interviews here recently, Trev Alberts, and you can see that he's frustrated that Nebraska has yet to hire a new president for the university. Carter's been gone for a while. He's with Ohio State. Is that what pushed Trev Alberts out the door? This is a bad day. If Trev Alberts actually leaves, if it becomes official, it's a bad day for Nebraska. Now, if he does leave, my number one on the hot board, the new athletic director hot board list to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, is Jamie Pollard, Iowa State. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I don't know what's going on. We covered this in more detail in episode 379. Give it a look if you want. I appreciate it. Now, let's get to the stories that we were going to cover today. The Indiana Hoosiers. We're going to go Spotlight team. We're doing this every live show. Almost every live show. Spotlight team. Yesterday, it was Notre Dame. Today, it's the Indiana Hoosiers. And then we're going to go off to the big story. Florida State, ACC, no turning back. Florida State, once again last night, went back in Leon County, filed another brief, and the language they used, holy smokes, we'll get into it. New Indiana coach Curt Cignetti. Cignetti expects big things in Bloomington. His toothpaste. His toothpaste is brand called Tom's of Maine, and its slogan could double as the blueprint to overall Indiana football. Wake up, brush teeth, make change. That's the scope of the change Cignetti needs to deliver. Well, Indiana is a program that has lost more games, 713, than any in FBS football, where no coach has left with a winning record since 1947. Think about that. No coach has left Indiana football with a winning record since 1947. And the football office winged is named for a coach, Bill Mallory, who left with a losing record. So what makes Cignetti think he can snicker at history and deliver on the directive he sees on his toothpaste? What makes him think winning can follow him to Indiana? Why can't it happen here? He shouts, practically leaping off the couch in his office. Cignetti arrives at Indiana after a 52-9 run at James Madison. Holy smokes. Prior to that, he authored immaculate resuscitation of programs at both Elon and Indiana University of Pennsylvania that practically required defibrillators. In my mind, I'd already done this turnaround twice, Cignetti said, of what he's facing at Indiana. Where does the confidence come from? Well, winning In his opening news conference, Cignetti summed up his career path and his self-confidence when asked how he sells the program and recruiting. It's pretty simple. I win. Google me. Google me. Along the way, a simple observation emerged for anyone who has spent even a small amount of time around Cignetti. He carries with him an unending, unflappable, and relentless belief in Kurt Cignetti. He's almost assuredly self-assured. His success that he's had as a head football coach, Cignetti's brother Frank told ESPN, obviously breeds self-confidence. That belief is backed by what he deems a substantial financial investment, something that hasn't always existed at Indiana. That began with a $15.5 million buyout to fire Coach Tom Allen. Holy smokes. Kurt Cignetti said the NIL investment is at least triple what it had been. Wow. There's also an overhaul roster of 38 new players, 22 transfers, 16 freshmen, an adrenaline shot of confidence, including Cignetti's declaration that Purdue, Michigan, and Ohio State suck after he was introduced at Assembly Hall. My oh my. There's also a 2024 schedule that could be amenable to a hot start. It could give him a little bit of a push. If you look at that early part of the schedule, Indiana will be favored in 3 of its first 4 games, with a road trip to UCLA the only projected underdog game. Indiana hosts Maryland in its 5th game. Cignetti's father, Frank Cignetti Sr., is in the College Football Hall of Fame, and his brother Frank is a longtime NFL and college coordinator. He combines that background with experience working for Nick Saban and under other notable coaches like Johnny Majors, Walt Harris, and Chuck Amato. As a head coach for 13 seasons, Cignetti has never had a losing record. Man, he flipped a 2-9 Elon to an 8-4 first season in 2017. He took over a 6-5 IUP team in 2011. 2 years later, it went 12-2. And in the Division II postseason. So while the world sees Indiana's coaching history of the past, say 80 years as a coaching graveyard, Cignetti sees it much different. His unshakable belief in Indiana, untapped potential. After all, he already has done this turnaround twice. And any other idea he well brushes off as he keeps waking up to make change. Here's a Q&A with Cignetti from his office recently, edited lightly for clarity, brevity. What should people expect from Indiana year 1? Cignetti, we're going to be better. We're going to win. Yeah, we're going to win. We're going to change the way people think. Changing the way the players think is an easy thing. To change the way certain people think at the university or in the state or in the conference or nationally about Indiana, we have to produce on the field, but we've got the schedule. It's highly competitive, but it lines up very nicely. Take a look at that schedule, so we'll see where we are at the end of the spring, what pieces we need to add in the portal at the end of the spring. ESPN, why can't it happen here? Cignetti, why can't it happen here? It's a state school. I mean, we have 48,000 students. We have the second most alumni in the country. I mean, we're pulling a big check from the Big Ten. Why can't it happen? Unless there's not a commitment and you don't want it to happen, right? ESPN, have they made Google Me t-shirts yet? Cignetti, no, but Mark Cuban recommended it. We'll do something pretty neat with that, so we're still working on it. ESPN, have any recruits or portal kids come and said, Coach, I Googled you? Cignetti, I get that occasionally. ESPN, you're a self-assured guy. Is that from coaching at lower levels and winning or being around a coaching family? Also, do you need a little Do you need to be a little bold to take this job on? Signetti, yeah. And you've got to portray that confidence to a place like this because this place needs that right now. They need hope and belief. That it's like a player or a pro ball player that produces and produces and produces over a number of seasons. Why should he not be confident? I'm the leader, right? Everybody's going to follow my lead. And I mean, I know what I'm doing. And I know that we can be successful with the commitment, and we will be. My goodness. Signetti. ESPN, what's the response been to the confidence you've projected? Signetti, what I hear is that they haven't seen this fan base ever this excited about football. Season tickets are up 50% compared with this time last year. Holy smokes. ESPN, do you feel the resources at Indiana will allow you to be competitive in the Big Ten? Signetti, there should be no self-imposed limitations on what we can accomplish, okay? We don't want to be in the upper half of the Big Ten in anything. We want to be the best. Our NIL is growing. Let's not be comfortable with having the 7th best NIL in the Big Ten. ESPN, important question for any Indiana coach. Have you met John Mellencamp yet? I did actually. We had an event with about 34 donors with $100,000 get in NIL. He came and played 3 or 4 songs. It was awesome. Mark Cuban was there. So was his business partner Todd Wagner. It was a great affair. ESPN, what did Mellencamp play? Signetti, he played 3 or 4 songs, including Jack and Diane, Pink Houses, and Small Town. ESPN, so you're at James Madison, IU opens. What do you think? And then Signetti, well, I won't go through this, but he says, James Madison is great, but Indiana is a place I think we can win. ESPN, simply put, no one has won big here in nearly a century. How did Scott Dolson and the administration tell you it was going to be different? I think I sense the commitment here. Obviously, college athletics has changed a lot. Football has changed a lot. Football's driving the bus across the country in terms of athletic revenue. In other words, Indiana's a Big Ten school. They're going to make a whole lot of money. Signetti sees an opportunity, right? And Scott, the athletic director, has not been here long. Not as an athletic director, but he's been here for 33 years. He came up as a ball boy under Bobby Knight. He and I really hit it off. I really got a sense from the president, Pamela Whitten, who had been at Georgia for 5 years, Michigan State 15, that football was really important. So there's an alignment, right? I felt extremely confident with the commitment we would be successful. I think in December we made tremendous progress. It can't really be measured. It's not tangible or quantifiable because we haven't played in a game, but we completely flipped the roster in December. And then at the end here, Signetti says, people believe, we're talking about Tyler Sherry now, the top 20 quarterback in ESPN's rankings. He obviously flipped over from Duke after Mike Elko left. What's flashed there so far? So Tyler Sherry is this top 20 quarterback that is in Indiana's hands. Curtis Rourke is expected to be the starter. He was the MAC Player of the Year. I talked about him yesterday. I was high on Curtis Rourke last year as he played for Ohio Bobcats. But he was injured the year before that. It took him, he wasn't quite healthy. This year he will be. But Tyler Sherry is the future because Rourke has 1 more year eligibility. Signetti on Tyler Sherry. People believe he has special qualities. He was a very highly rated guy. He's one of the highest recruits Indiana has gotten in a long time here, especially at the QB position from in-state. I was at NC State when Phillips Rivers won that job as a freshman. We had a great year. The first year at Elon, we had a freshman. The same deal. We had a great year. So this is an open competition, as we've got Jackson here as well. So they got Jackson, Warwick, and Tyler Sherry. Remember the name Tyler Sherry. Go look at his high school tape. He was committed to Duke, came to Indiana, big time get for the Hoosiers. They got a schedule that they could win early on in the season, get some momentum. Could Indiana make it to a bowl game in the first year and expand a Big Ten conference? Yes, they can. Signetti is full of confidence. Ticket sales are 50% higher than at this time last year. Are you kidding me? Indiana Hoosiers, they are a spotlight team for today, March 13th, 2024. A spotlight team for tomorrow is going to be LSU, and then the next team after that is the Houston Cougars. Every live show, we're going to have a spotlight team as we get ready for college football. We're in spring practices. We're going to be getting some reports, right? Getting some reports, see who's winning what quarterback position. We're getting ready. We are getting ready for college football. Okay. Now, Florida State. Florida State. The latest on Florida State ACC dueling lawsuits. Florida State is accusing the ACC commissioners, not just one, the one previous, of naughtiness. Tampa Bay Times, Matt Baker, just a short little update. The latest, March 13th, 2024. Florida State says ACC commissioners have engaged in naughtiness over the last 14 years. That's the most interesting line in the school's latest filing in Leon County. This happened last night. Most of the details of the alleged naughtiness have been previously stated. The school has accused now former Commissioner John Swofford of self-dealing by helping the Sun's company in a media rights negotiation, Raycom, and of strong-arming Florida State into signing the ACC grant of rights. There's not much other new information. We're going to be going. We're going to be going through it. I'm going to pop it up on the screen. There are some points I want to get to. This was Florida State's response to the ACC's motion to stay or dismiss the case in Leon County. One of the big parts of this, and Matt Baker talks about it here briefly, incoming ACC members, California and Stanford, continue to get picked on. Continue to get picked on. I'm going to highlight that here in the brief. In the context of schools pursuing other conferences, Florida State attorneys write that California and Stanford were so unmarketable that they had to forego almost all payments for media rights in the ACC. Ouch. Basically, it's part of the argument that Florida State is making that the ACC isn't really looking out for us. Really not looking out for us. Here is, let me pop up on the screen here. This is what was filed yesterday afternoon, March 12th. And we're not going to go through the whole thing. A lot of it is legalese language I don't understand. But there is a few things to point out. Just the first part. The Florida motion to dismiss standard, through 44 pages long. The motion nowhere sets forth Florida standard to decide motion to dismiss for good reason. Again, this is Florida State's response to the ACC trying to get the case dismissed in Leon County. Says it shouldn't be there. It should be in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, the home of the ACC. Okay? The argument. Emblematic of the motion's merits, it begins with an eye-opening assertion. Again, this is Florida State talking about the ACC. The billion-dollar media enterprise the ACC operates in and through its two Florida citizen resident members, Florida State and the University of Miami. Yes, Florida State mentions the University of Miami more than once in this brief. Does not amount to any one of the following: operating, conducting, engaging, or carrying on a business or business venture, or having an office or agency in the state. Basically, what Florida State is saying, the ACC, they're not operating anything in here. They're not conducting anything in here. They're not carrying on a business in the state of Florida. They don't have an office or an agency in the state of Florida. The Florida State University of Miami, we're in the state of Florida, but the ACC is not doing any of this stuff. The amended complaint alleges, this was ACC's complaint, the primary purpose and function of the conference is to enrich its member institutions, and that the ACC is a common enterprise that exists only to generate substantial revenues on which the member institutions rely on each year, and that 2 of the 14 full-time members of this common enterprise, Florida State and Miami, are both long-time residents and citizens of the state of Florida. The ACC was and is to accomplish its revenue generating job primarily, if not exclusively, through its contractual commitment to its members to exploit certain media and related member rights. And to that end, the commissioners shall negotiate all contracts and agreements for the sale, licensing, distribution, and other exploitation of the member media rights in arrangement with media companies such as ESPN and Fox. With respect to the contracts and agreements the ACC negotiated, signed, and committed, and to the amended complaint alleges, those agreements were not possible without the media rights ceded to the ACC by its members, including Florida State and Miami. So valuable were Florida State's media rights ceded to the ACC by Florida State that they generated enough profit to the ACC that it was able to pay Florida State tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars by Florida State continuing to perform under these agreements. Okay, this is the ACC's argument that Florida State has started to show in this brief. Beyond that, the grant of rights put squarely at issue in the amended complaint exclusive media rights to all home games of Florida State, meaning the performance of those agreements with respect to Florida State involves performance in substantial part, if not entirely, within Florida. As Florida State is located in Leon County, Florida, all that performance occurred in Leon County at Florida State's facility. When combined with the performance by Miami, this performance of ACC media agreements within Florida doubles the Florida revenues flowing to and funding the ACC. Now, it talks about the ACC branded TV channel. Beyond this, the amended complaint alleges how in the last 5 years, the ACC, together with Florida State and Miami, have launched a venture, an ACC branded TV channel, a conference affiliated branded sports network. That's the ACC network in Florida. And that to be a successful venture would depend on the ability of the members to secure distribution in their respective states. Indeed, the amended complaint pleads how the ACC has pinned its entire financial future on the revenue it expects to receive from this ACC branded TV channel, the ACC's prestige network, which has for the past 5 years operated under the flag the ACC network. To build the ACC branded TV channel from scratch in Florida, Florida State and Miami together had to spend approximately $15 million of their own money. That's more than what I thought. We've talked about it before. We knew that every ACC school had to spend a few $1,000,000 each for the wiring and whatever, everything that has to do with the ACC network. But we were under the assumption that it was like $2, $3, $4 million each. This is $15 million combined. So $7.5 million each. Swofford and the ACC commissioner structured the ACC branded TV channel as 50-50 net revenue share with ESPN, subject to certain massive haircuts to fund Raycom Sports, where Swofford's son was employed. Once again, Florida State is bringing up Swofford, his son being employed. And it talks about you. I do provide a link in the description. So you can read the whole thing. Whether it's a joint venture, common enterprise, partnership, or nonprofit association that is operated by the members of the ACC, it is admittedly being operated within the state of Florida by not one but two different full members. In other words, the ACC is in business of buying, selling, and distributing Florida media content made and produced and broadcast in Florida, utilizing Florida's brick and mortar facilities, all in the name and under the umbrella of the ACC network. As to venue, the ACC takes the position it's a non-resident. Taking that as true, the venue is proper in any Florida county. And should the ACC flip-flop to claim its Florida residents, then it would reside in Leon County. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but at some point, what the Florida State and a lot of people on X, a lot of people on message boards, that the ACC keeps flip-flopping their arguments. At some point, they say they are a resident of Florida. Sometimes they say they are not. The ACC, the conference. Here in page 7, the ACC then asked the court to make factual determination that the grant of rights have no impact on that market. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You can read what was prior said to this. Relying on incoherent reasoning about the implosion of the Pac-12. But the facts pleaded established the exact opposite. Alleging in great detail how the 4 Pac-12 members, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, and the 2 Big 12 members with the highest football media values, Texas and Oklahoma, vastly improved their respective economic lots by migrating to the 2 most profitable conferences, paying the highest media rights compensation, Big Ten and SEC. On the reverse side, plain allegations established that those Pac-12 members with the lowest football media values, Stanford and the University of California, were regulated to literally buying their way into the Power 4 conference, paying the lowest media rights compensation, the ACC. Indeed, So unmarketable were Stanford and California that they had to forego almost all payments for the media rights in the ACC for the foreseeable future. And you know, and again, one of the arguments that Florida State is making is the ACC looking out for Florida State in its future? It's looking out for the ACC, you know, trying to survive all this realignment wave. But is it really looking out for its members? Did Florida State gain really any value with the addition of Stanford and California, like SEC did when they took on Texas and Oklahoma, like the Big Ten did? Was this all just about surviving, the ACC organization surviving? Was these moves to the betterment of Florida State? Let me go to page 9. It goes into, again, the timing of North Carolina. The required votes that it needed to actually file a suit against Florida State. We've talked about this. The motion makes no real effort to demonstrate beyond any doubt that the Florida State Board could prove no set of facts to support any breach of the contract claim. In fact, it's the ACC that is making a breach. The motion concedes that within the last 4 months alone, the ACC deliberately breached and continues to breach those governing documents, the bylaws, by initiating the unprovoked lawsuit against its own member without obtaining the prior required vote. Mandated, this part of the ACC's Constitution, Article 1.6.2. Again, Florida State is saying the ACC acted outside of its own Constitution. To try to sidestep another recent material breach, the ACC falsely argues the extension of a deadline was not an amendment of a material media rights agreement, but the ACC conceals from the court the actual language of the contract signed by Nick Dawson of ESPN and Jim Phillips for the ACC, which plainly states. Now, this has to do with, this is a big one, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big one. The ACC has not made this, it's concealed from the court that the deadline for ESPN to make that decision on whether they should continue distributing ESPN's ACC's content beyond 2027. Here it is. It plainly states, in connection with that certain amended and restated multimedia agreement entered into between ESPN Incorporated, ESPN Enterprises, and that of the Atlantic Coast Conference, or dated July 21st, 2016, the parties hereby agree to amend the agreement as follows. The first sentence of section 14.1 of the agreement is hereby amended that ESPN may exercise the extension option by providing written notice to the conference no later than February 1st, 2025. So it's February 1st, 2025. I was under the belief it was the last February 28th. It's February 1st. That's the deadline. There was an extension option. But according to Florida State, Jim Phillips unilaterally amended it without the necessary approval for no consideration. Which means I'm not a lawyer, as you well all know. But Jim Phillips gave extended the deadline for ESPN and got nothing back in return, got nothing back in consideration. Florida State got nothing to give ESPN more time, more control. And where does Jim Phillips have this unilateral power? This is the big one. And again, I'm a non-lawyer. But this is a big one. Jim Phillips unilaterally amended it without the necessary approval for no consideration. A two-time breach of Article 1.6.2, the ACC Constitution. Those contract provisions strictly prohibited Jim Phillips from amending any material media rights agreement without first obtaining absolute 2/3 required vote. These actions also materially breach the ACC's contractual duty to always exploit, never squander the members' media rights under bylaws 2.10. No consideration. First of all, Jim Phillips did not have the power to do it, and then he did it, and then he didn't get anything back for the ACC. Didn't get anything back, for the schools in the ACC. Did not get anything back for Florida State. No consideration. Where was the consideration? What did Florida State gain by Jim Phillips extending this deadline for ESPN to bail on distributing ACC content? Where is it? And where does Jim Phillips have the power? Where is the documentation that there was a 2/3 vote to get him the power? And in my humble opinion, whenever Clemson jumps into the fray in the state court of South Carolina, they're going to be arguing the same thing. These four material breaches, ACC fully excuse and relieve Florida State from any further contractual performance. Having committed the first breach, the general rule is that a material breach of the agreement allows the non-breaching party to treat the breach as a discharge of his contract liability. In other words, bye-bye grant of rights, bye-bye damages, bye-bye everything. Let's see, what else do I got here? For some reason, page 13. Basically what we just went through, page 19. Let's look at page 19. There's a lot in here. A lot of it is, not new, right? A lot of it is not new. They go through the severe penalty. They went through the North Carolina, the ACC initiated in North Carolina, anticipatory filing. We've talked about that. And then at the end, in conclusion, Florida State, and even if the lawsuits were mirror images of each other, clearly not the case, allowing for apples to apples comparison, the ACC had not confessed in its suit, was initiated in anticipation that the defendant was planning to file suit, and that the act was not an ultra vires act by the ACC. the principle of priority would still not apply, as this case presents yet another extraordinary circumstance. None of the cases cited in the motion come anywhere close to the facts alleged here, namely that the night before filing purports to waive the sovereign immunity of an admittedly sovereign entity, Florida acting through the Florida State's Board of Trustees in a foreign court. Such a waiver is prohibited as a matter of law under the law of the instant sovereign entity, namely Florida. For the reasons stated above, in conclusion, the ACC's motion to dismiss or alternatively to stay must be denied in its entirety, dated March 12th. This was yesterday. So the motion, again, in Leon County, Florida State, another motion, another brief to say, look, this should be denied. The ACC's trying to dismiss this case in Leon County. These are the reasons why it shouldn't. Again, not a whole lot of it was new. But again, they did. The Florida State lawyers took the shot against the ACC in regards to adding California and Stanford. It didn't add to the value of the conference. But the real big one in that, for me, is, look, Jim Phillips did not have the power. Did not have the power to extend the deadline for ESPN to go out to February 1st, 2025. He did not have the power to do that. He did not have the power, and there was, for unilaterally to do that. And there was no 2/3 votes to give him the power. And when he did that, when Jim Phillips did that, nobody, the ACC schools did not get anything out of it. No consideration, no value back, no little bump up in pay, nada, nothing, zilch. And the bylaws, look, the ACC is supposed to, under every single circumstance, look out for the universities in the conference. Any little nugget of opportunity supposed to bring back value to the schools. So Jim Phillips whiffed a few times on that, according to Florida State's argument. And I think they got a really good argument. That alone, I think, is the straw that is stirring the drink. And we started at the beginning of this episode. Man, there is going to be a time here soon, real soon, that the PATC Sportsbook is going to be flashing some odds saying this is the time we believe a settlement's going to happen. Expedition Greg, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Holy smokes. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Clear the decks. Clear the decks. We are changing the title of the show. We've been through a lot. We've gone through a lot. You can call us and talk about it. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Expedition Greg. We talked about Indiana. Breaking news. I gotta change the title of the show. Wow. Wow. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Holy smokes. And it's very good news, I believe. I believe it's very good news. 5 plus 9 is gaining traction. Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for the delay here. We're trying to figure this all out. Sources: college football playoff leaders close to finalizing agreement for the future. Hold on, give me another moment here. I got a text message from somebody. Hold on. Wow. Wow. This thing has gone a different direction. The college football playoff is inching. Is that big enough for everybody? Is that better? No, that's not better. College football playoff is inching closer to finalizing its agreement for the future. Presidents in the ACC and the Big 12 voted to authorize their commissioners to adopt a future framework related to the CFP. The ACC and the Big 12 have authorized their commissioners, including a new revenue model and concepts around a playoff format, all of which will be a part of the new contract with ESPN. Those with knowledge of the discussion spoke to Yahoo Sports. Wow. The two leagues were thought to be the most resistant to the deal. Their presidential vote is viewed as a significant hurdle crossing to reaching an agreement. The Big 12 and the ACC votes were unanimous. Sources told Yahoo Sports the CFP Management Committee, the 10 FBS Conference Commissioners, and Notre Dame's athletic director expected to meet over the next few days in a gathering that should produce some finality on what's been a long, dramatic march to the playoffs future beginning in 2026. Each conference and Notre Dame will be asked to either commit or not to the new CFP framework. 10 FBS commissioners. That means the G5 are in this. That means there is no breakaway. That means there is no split. The expectation, pending the approval, and it looks like we're going there, from each conference presidential board is that all 10 conferences will commit to, most notably, a new revenue distribution model, parameters around a playoff format, and new governance structure. Notre Dame is supportive of the framework, multiple sources tell Yahoo Sports. A proposal for a new revenue distribution model is heavily favored toward Michigan State and SEC. The proposal socialized with administrators over the last 10 days. Big 10 and SEC would combine for 58%. ACC and the Big 12, 32%. We know that. No school's revenue will decrease versus prior. The Big 12 and the ACC are set to see a doubling of their previous amount. Notre Dame is expected to receive its own annual distribution. That as well is expected to increase significantly from its current distribution. According to the latest proposal, there is not expected to be a participation distribution concept as part of the new revenue model, a change that leaders made to the original proposal circulated last week. The current model calls for participating teams to earn revenue by qualifying and then advancing through the field. The CFP-based revenue distribution model is largely based on historic success in the playoffs. We know all that. The contract is expected to include a definitive look-in provision in 2028. A playoff format is further from being settled, but the contract is expected to include several guaranteed protections related to a format. The champions of the 4 major conferences and the highest ranked group of 5 champion will earn an automatic qualifying spot into any playoff. Notre Dame is expected to have its own protections related to a format. Other details of the formula are expected to be finalized after the leagues reach an agreement with ESPN on the television deal, which will run through 2031 for 24 and 25. Just like their heavy revenue share, the SEC and the Big Ten are expected to hold significant weight in determining a future format. A variety of 14-team formats continue to circulate across the industry. One in particular, a 5+9, 14-team model is gaining traction. That format mirrors the current 5+7, 12-team format, but features additional 2 at-large spots. Presumably that model would grant automatic berths to the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. That's how it is now. And I like it. I like that. That's how it is now. So what happened? Wait. There still exists the possibility of multiple automatic qualifiers for individual leagues, including a format that grants 3 automatic qualifiers to the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 to the ACC. Okay, so the format is still, however, a format with not as many automatic qualifiers is losing traction. Wait a second here. There is a 2-2-1-1-1-1 plus 7 model under consideration too. It grants 2 automatic berths to the SEC Big Ten. The concept of the Big Ten and the SEC holding exclusive rights over the 2 first-round byes, it's been tabled. The money is more important matter than the format. So what do we got here, guys? The format, who knows? 5+9 is gaining traction. And I love that. I love the 5+9. I love the 5+9. That's gaining traction. But none of that is, wow, I don't know. 5+9 is gaining traction, but it didn't really say much after that. Notre Dame in the CFP, the money had nothing to do with, again, we had I won't go into it on this show, but we had a members-only episode today, and I said that the CFP money has nothing to do with Notre Dame's movement. It has to do with something else. We won't talk about it. So that has nothing to do with that. Let's just put it that way. Jamie Thornton, 5+9 is how it should be, and it proves at the end of the day what really matters to the Big Ten and the SEC was the money. It looks like the money. Well, no, Petiti and Sankey, we don't know. We don't know. The biggest news seems to be the ACC and the Big 12 signing off. Yes, Justin Lucas nails it. The big news is the ACC and the Big 12 are signing off on the revenue distribution model. That's the big news. And as far as we know, it hasn't changed. This is Ross Dellinger's tweet here. As for a playoff format, only protections are expected to be approved, including one automatic qualifier for each P4 league and best G5. A formalized model is expected later, but a 5+9 is gaining traction. By the way, that's what the SEC wants. That's not what the Big Ten wanted. As talks move away from leagues earning multiple automatic qualifiers each. So talks are moving away from the automatic qualifiers. So the SEC, they wanted that 58%, them in the Big Ten, and they wanted they wanted more at-large bids. Right? Now, the look-in provision is going to get passed. This as long as that look-in provision gets passed, whatever playoff format they settle on, could get changed quite easily. That's the thing. If the ACC implosion happens, a 5+9 format is easily moved. It's easily adjusted. So that's one thing you have to consider. And I think they're probably considering that. 5+9 is something you guys all know I love the 5+7. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's everything that I wanted in a playoff. 5+9, I'm good with that. I want the 5+9. The Big Ten, if that happens, the Big Ten acquiesced. The Big Ten pulled away. As long as they're getting that huge money, they decide if that exactly what happens. Again, this is not a conclusion to the playoff format. We don't know what they're settling on. It still could be the 3-3-2-2-1-3. But as Justin Lucas said, the ACC and the Big 12 are signing off on the distribution model. Everyone's saying 58%, but I haven't seen that reported by a reliable source. Ross Dellinger's a reliable source. So, well, the 14, Jamie Thornton, I mean, because, it's because of the perceived implosion of the ACC. That's why. SEC Big Ten conferences never mentioned 5+9 concepts on playoffs. We're going to open up the phone lines here. We just got breaking news. Breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. Thank you, Expedition Greg, and for everybody keeping their head on a swivel. The phone lines are open now. In our last live show, last night, phone lines are open. 763-261-260 763-260-1333 is the number. Now, yesterday we were optimistic about a deal getting done on the distribution model. It looks like the Big 12 and the ACC unanimous. Let's get it done. Let's just do it. Let's get it done. Maybe there was a return volley. Maybe the Big 10 and the SEC, especially the Big 10, said, okay, 5+9 gaining traction in return that we can cement this revenue model, give and take. Big 12, of course the Big 12 and the 8. Okay, let's do it. Now that 3-3-2-2 though, was that such a bad thing for the ACC and the Big 12? Again, we do not have the playoff format figured out. They don't have it figured out, but the distribution model, and I expect the governance model, is going to be done by the end of the week. 7-6-3, 2-6-0, 1-3-3-3. Or did the Big Ten and the SEC do some more modeling, what they expect in the future, and they said, nah, we don't need those automatic qualifying spots? What about their media partners? What about ESPN? A 5+9. A 5+9 does not screw with the value of the conference championship games. They become really valuable still. They remain, right? They still have their great value because a conference champion can get you that first round bye. And of course, the highest rated G5. 5+9, I'm all in on. I'm all in. Just like I am on the 5+7. Kill ball, nice. The money was the biggest issue. Joe Z, the Big Ten needs to drop to 8 conference games to match the ACC, SEC for fairness, or they wind up with an 8-4 conference champion. They're not going to drop down, though. They're just not going to do it. It's just too valuable. But that is one of the reasons why the Big Ten wanted more automatic qualifying spots, because they have more conference games than the SEC, and they're going to have more losses. Big Ten's going to have more losses. That's what happens every year because they play more conference games. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Big Ten wanted more. But we don't know if it's not happening, right? We know, according to Ross Dellinger's reporting, I'm going to put it up on the screen again. The phones are open. 763-260-1333. We know that 5+9 is gaining traction right there, as talks move away from leagues earning multiple automatic qualifiers. And if it's 5+9, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, here at Peek Around the Corner, if it's 5+9, yes! If it happens. If it happens. And of course, David Griffin, don't be too giddy yet. Things could still go pear-shaped until we see signed paper. Absolutely. David is absolutely correct. I've lost myself a little bit. 5+9 is gaining traction. Not a done deal. Not a done deal. Not a done deal. Steve-O, wasn't it the Texas athletic director that said a couple weeks ago that the SEC was going to 9 conference games in 2026? Yeah, he didn't say it was going to happen for sure. What he did say, it wasn't going to happen for 24 and 25, but he expected to happen for 26. And one of those reasons is because I believe the SEC perceives that they're going to be expanding in around 2026 or 27. Arnegad said this is a garbage deal. No celebrating. No celebrating. Well, there is no deal yet. And I like the 5+9. That's what I was doing my celebration with. That it at least is gaining traction. least is gaining traction.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Greg? How's it going?
Good, good, good. Breaking news today.
Yep, great news for college football. I think, at the end of the day, it was kind of what I think it was what was kind of the betting odds favorite before all this shenanigans happened. 5+9 with a basically 2-to-1 revenue split between the power two and the other two guys. I'm not as thrilled about the deal in terms of like I don't really like the deal, to be honest with you. I think I don't like the revenue split or the proposed revenue split. I think it should be more even. But the big two dudes decided to throw their weight around, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I called is so with the ACC president agreeing to this revenue split. We talked about this before, but do you think this helps or hurts Florida State's case in the reduced value of the ACC conference and/or network?
Wow. First of all, we don't know for sure that it's 58-32, right? Although
Yeah.
I give a lot of credence to what Ross Dellinger says. And I haven't seen anybody dispute it. I haven't seen ESPN say, no, that's not correct. I haven't seen The Athletic. They're all singing from the same songbook. So let's just say, for sake of this discussion, BJ, that it is true, 58-32. Well, it doesn't help Jim Phillips, right? It doesn't help. It doesn't help. And I'm not blaming him, but it doesn't help. How much does it help Florida State? I mean, if this gets cemented in, they did say, Ross Dellinger said it was unanimous among all the Big 12 and the ACC. So that means Florida State, they probably just don't have a choice. I don't know, man. It doesn't help Jim Phillips. It might hurt Jim Phillips in the court case, right?
Yeah, so how I look at it from my perspective, before it was an evenly split distribution, right? Every conference, got around 20%. I think the top 5 split 80% of it. It was some even split. I don't recall the exact number, but it was an even split. Now, 6 years later, 7 years later, the split is you lost percentage. So to me, if I'm defending Florida State, I'm like, hey, our conference took a step back. The reason we took a step back, here are some of the off the field things that the conference did that put us in a worse position, because on the court, on the field, we're the second, they're the second best conference in the last 10, 15 years. In terms of championships, it's the SEC 1, ACC 2. So the on the field play didn't reflect the off the field business plays, which led the ACC to a reduced position. Unless I'm reading it wrong, but I think that's how I would read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. A lot of people in the comments are saying about the revenue thing here. Again, I am not in favor of the unequal revenue either. But I've been saying since August of 2022, from the very first show, the Great Gold Rush of 2026, that it was going to happen. It was a fait accompli from the. All this was. This is why the SEC and the Big Ten have been doing what they're doing. So while I agree with his sentiment in the chat room, this is not what I thought this was going to happen. It just was. Just like it just was where the Big 12 is going to make a lot more than the G5 schools. The SEC and the Big 10 were going to demand way more of the revenue pie. That's just what was going to happen. Again, the exclusive rights for first round games, terrible. And 5+9, I think, is best for competition. It's the best possible outcome that I saw. If it turns out to be 5+9, it's the least amount of having it all be scripted out, right? The money gap is big. It's going to continue to grow. But at least these other things did not happen. Go ahead, BJ.
So there's two things. You're right. I think having it evenly split is pie in the sky. But in reality, once the Big 12 took out the media deal from ESPN, which gave them approximately $30 million a year, and at the same time, ESPN negotiated about a $65 million a year for the SEC. It put them in the driver's seat. So now we have a financial gap there just by the media deal, and the media deal is based off numbers. So I'll give the SEC credit. It's based off numbers. Now the SEC has a perceived advantage. Yeah. Right? It's the ESPN and Fox is backing these two behemoths of a conference, and that kind of led the way to giving the SEC and the Big Ten confidence to play bully ball, or in my opinion, the CFP. So you're right in terms of it was a foregone conclusion that the two big conferences was gonna play bully ball. It just doesn't add to parity and fairness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even though we live in America, it's a capitalistic country. I get it. But, I think what makes the NFL such a great league is that they all agreed for shared revenue. No matter whether you were Dallas or Carolina, you get the same part of the media deal. So, go ahead.
This is more like Major League Baseball, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And lastly is the look-in provision. Like, I think I look at it two ways. Either Brett Yarmark is 3 steps ahead, or he just sealed the fate to permanent tier 2 status for his conference. And the only reason I say that is because you're going to be at a $30, $40, $50 million deficit every year. And numbers show without Texas, without Oklahoma, your conference hasn't won a chip, right? They got close with TCU, or kind of close. So to expect your conference members to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC when they're $40 million behind, when you include in the NIL stuff, if the SEC and the Big Ten wants to look in 2028 and then renegotiate based off performance, I think the Big 12 and the ACC are not going to perform as well as the 32% that they're reported to be, or 16%, per conference that they're reported to give. Because I just don't think you're going to consistently beat the SEC and the Big Ten in the CFP, especially on the nationally televised games. I don't think it's a good look. I think it puts a lot of pressure on these smaller schools to perform, and it's just not likely, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but history shows that the Big 12 just doesn't perform well outside of Texas and Oklahoma. Since the DCS era.
Well, we'll see. I mean, TCU just beat Michigan, so I understand what you're saying. But I still like the look-in provision for the Big 12 because I think they're anticipating an implosion in the ACC, and I think they're anticipating that they're going to up their value for the conference. I don't think if the ACC implodes, I think the Big 12 wants to make sure that they get more value out of the CFP than versus an imploded ACC.
So I
For the
got you
Big
there, but
12,
check this out.
for the Big 12, it's never been about trying. It was impossible for them to get themselves in a position to be in the same stratosphere as the Big Ten and the SEC when it came to money and stuff. But what they could do, and they did it, is they survived over the Pac-12. And I think they're trying to get in position to survive over the ACC and to become the third most valuable conference in the country. And if you look at it that way, I think they're pulling all the correct levers. But go ahead, finish the call, DJ.
I agree. I think you're right. They just want to survive. I think what separates the Big 12 from the Pac-12 and the ACC, the Big 12 are like, I'm just happy to be at the party, right? Because their media deal is not really that good, but it's great if you are, if you just want to have an athletic department. But in terms of competing, it's not that good, because if I'm the SEC or Big Ten, let's say Miami, Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, the top half of the ACC leaves, it implodes. That 58% that I'm asking for in the CFP is going to go to 80% or 75%, because those teams are the most valuable teams in the ACC. It's not going to be an even split. So you're going to end up making, close to 14, 15 million per school for the Big 12 schools. However, the Big 2 schools are the
I know,
SEC
but they cannot. But you're correct. But just to finish up the phone call, BJ, you're correct. But they're not going to say, "Oh, well, we better not make $12 or $14 million more if the Big 10 school is going to make $22 million more." They can't think that way. They got to make more. They're going to want to make more. Brett Yormark has to work for the betterment of the Big 12 institutions. You're correct, but the Big 12 can't think that way.
And I'll just say this, and I'll get off your line.
Yeah.
It's like, my goal is, ultimately, I do not want two conferences to be the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
So having a healthy third and fourth conferences, I think it's better for the sport. It's not better for business. It's definitely not better for business, but it's better for the sport. And I just foresee the deck is being stacked so much where it's basically going to be in 4 or 5 years, it's literally just going to be two conferences. And I just don't like that idea.
Got it.
And so my perspective is, how can we orchestrate a situation where there is legitimately 3, 4 conferences that have an opportunity to compete? Monetarily, we're in the same kind of zip code, and on the field, we're competing. And that's why. So my position may be an unfavorable position. I just don't want two conferences, with a $50, $60 million gap competing against, a lesser conference. That's all.
Got it. All right, man.
But thank you very much for having me on here.
Beautiful, BJ. Call again, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, beautiful. Now, and again, they got that look-in clause. So 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. If you want that distribution model to change, if you want something, you want chaos, you want the Big Ten and the SEC to get knocked down some levels, then you put your heart and soul and you pray to the college football God in the sky that an ACC team wins it, a Big 12 team wins it, a G5 team wins a playoff game. The Big Ten and the SEC underperform, right? I know it's stacked against them. I know it is. Trust me, I know it is. It's tough to beat the Buckeyes, the Wolverines. It's tough to beat Alabama. It's tough to beat Georgia. But that is, this. If you are wanting the Big Ten and the SEC to lose the high percentage of the distribution it looks like they're going to get, let's hope that there can be some Davids knocking off some Goliaths in the playoffs. That's my hope. I'll root for it. I'll root for it. There is no A&M to the Big Ten rumors. There's no rumors. There's nothing going on there. Nick Kelso. Terry Kane wants a breakaway now. Well, it sure does seem like there's not going to be a breakaway, right? Doesn't sound like the Big Ten and the SEC are breaking away from everybody else, does it? We always thought there maybe was a 1% chance here at Peek Around the Corner that it would happen in 2026.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O, the floor
to
is
accept,
yours.
press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Whoops. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, the floor is yours, Steve-O. What's going on, sir? Big news, breaking news.
Hey, people always want to think they're getting ripped off or they're getting a bad end of the deal. I mean, these percentages on money, percent of money compared to percent of playoff wins, it's pretty comparable.
Yeah.
And if the Big 12 or the ACC wants more money, just go back to what Al Davis used to say. Just win, baby. And then in 28, you're going to get more money, get more teams. But just crying and crying about getting ripped off or let's go break away. I mean, it's ridiculous. Just win some playoff games.
Yeah.
You feeling better, Greg?
Yep, I'm feeling better. Yep. I also like that 5+9. That's gaining traction. So if that happens, yep.
I do too. I think it's a lot better than the 3-3-2-2 or the 2-2-1-1. Any of that. The conference championship games stay important. So, but I was asking how you feeling better. Does that mean your health? I was referring to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm doing better. I'm doing pretty good actually. Yep.
All right. Well, it sounds like you might need a sponsor from Kleenex here for the next couple hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, Greg. Have a good one.
All right. Appreciate it, sir. Great call. Steve-O. All right, we've had one heck of a show. We're gonna keep going. Take your phone calls. We've had one heck of a show. We started with the. Where did we start today's show? We talked about Indiana. That was our spotlight team of the day, the Indiana Hoosiers. We talked about Florida State, another brief put into Leon County, batting away the ACC. ACC wants to dismiss or stay the case in Leon County, and Florida State said no. We went through that briefing a little bit. Holy smokes. And then we had breaking news. All of a sudden, it looks like the ACC, and the Big 12. Let me spotlight it here. Right here. Breaking news. I'll put it up on the screen. Presidents in the ACC and the Big 12 voted to authorize their commissioners to adopt the future framework related to a new CFP, including a new revenue model and concepts around a playoff format, all of which will be a part of a new contract with ESPN. The two leagues were thought to be the most resistant to a deal. Their presidential vote is viewed as a significant hurdle crossing to reaching an agreement. The Big 12 and the ACC votes were unanimous, sources told. Now, later on, Ross Dellinger puts in here, there was a proposal socialized, 58% would go to the Big Ten and the SEC. ACC and the Big 12 combined distribution number was expected to be around 32%. Now, is that what the ACC and the Big 12 agreed upon? Is those the numbers? We do not know. We do not know. It doesn't say specifically, right? The ACC and the Big 12 voted to authorize their commissioners to adopt the future framework. Now, we do know that Ross Dellinger said a couple days ago that he thought whatever distribution model was going to be finally voted on, it would look similar to what that 58-32. But we don't know for sure. Maybe there was an adjustment to the percentages. And then the Big 12 and the ACC jumped on it. Maybe it's more than 32%. I don't know. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. Let me know. Now, and we've got all these court cases coming up, right? 10 months from now, House versus NCAA. There was a report out there today that the Big Ten and the SEC, those schools are going to be figured to pay more of those costs because they bring in the most money, they bring in more NIL money, that maybe their part of the cost of that is going to be more than the other schools. So they want to make sure they get more. I don't know if that's true or not. Hold on a second here, guys. Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious that hate speech is not accepted in this chat room at all. This is an incredibly diverse chat room with great people. It matches my incredibly diverse family with great people. We come from all over the country, all walks of life, rich and poor, big and strong, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, women, men. So, that hate speech, see ya. Don't want to be ya. That's not part of college football. That's not a part of this community. Terrible. Yeah, I took care of that. Killball, I took care of that. There is some movement in the theater. Go check out, if you are a member of the channel, go check out the latest Cloak and Dagger video. And no, the news today did not affect that at all because, well, I explain it in the video. But if you want to become a member, a Cloak and Dagger, watch members only episodes, go to the link provided in the description below the video and go hit that link. Go hit the join button. I will have to say, okay, so let's say that distribution model, what's been socialized and reported on, let's say that is accurate. And let's just say that each ACC school is going to be making $13.7 million a year on the new playoff model. What if Notre Dame is making like 17, 18 million a year? What if they're making Big Ten money, 21 million? What if Notre Dame is getting all that more than the ACC? Talking about emptying a bunch of hand grenades and throwing it on a fire pit. I mean, but then again, what if Notre Dame is making exactly what the ACC schools are making? Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Traction. 5 plus 9 has traction. And again, I'm going to play it. If 5 plus 9 happens, beautiful. Beautiful. If it happens, we don't know if it's going to happen. It's gaining traction, but the 3-3-2-2-1 3 is still out there, so we're gonna hopefully find out. But the ACC and the Big 12, the big news is that they have agreed to whatever distribution model this is. We don't know; it's not been reported, but unanimous votes. They're sticking together. Nobody's breaking away from anybody. Don't know if we are making a good decision or not. Will be voted on by who, and does the Big 12 ACC have a good chance of getting a good deal? Imagine if the positions of the Big 10 and the SEC were switched. Will you still argue fairness? You know the answer to that question. I don't know if that's a question to me or not. I'm not even talking about fairness. I mean, for Movie Time Blues and other people, I have fought it. I'm against the unequal revenue sharing. I'm against the exclusive rights to the first 2 round buys. I don't know Movie Time Blues. I'm on the ACC and Big 12 side. All I can tell you is that I've been reporting since August of 2022 that the SEC and the Big Ten were going to get more money out of the pie. I mean, I only did about 100 live shows on this. So my only thing, it shouldn't be a surprise. But is it fair? No. Should it happen? No. The Big Ten and the SEC get more money out of their media revenue, which I believe is economically, I don't know what you want to call it, fair, because they're getting the bigger numbers on their games. Just like the Big 12 makes more money than the Sun Belt. The same thing. More eyeballs on the Big 12 than the Sun Belt. So they make more money. Same thing with the Big 10, SEC versus the Big 12 versus the ACC. That I'm okay with. I understand people. I don't quite get this comment. I've been on this side. I don't know. I'm not sure what else I can say. Well, make sure, okay, I thought it was directed at me. It's Canes all day, super chat. 13 million equals 1% share of CFP revenue. SEC and Big Ten shares go from 29% to upper 30s once ACC is devoured. Today's figures are set up to grab bigger slice of the pie. That I agree with. This is cloak and dagger, but it's out in the open. Not much cloak, but a whole lot of daggers going on. Not much cloak, but a whole lot of dagger. This, again, we don't know the distribution model that's been agreed upon. We think it's 58-32. But if it is 58-32, if it is, yeah, Canes all day, this is fuel. This is absolute fuel to the fire of the ACC imploding. In fact, if this gets cemented, Florida State would probably use this in the next motion, in the next brief. Your Miami Hurricanes are going to look at this, and it's going to be part of their risk-benefit analysis of going to the courts to get out of the ACC. But when the ACC is devoured, there will be a look-in. Yes. Absolutely. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. Let's see if there's any more news on this. Breaking news. Now it has become official. Per source, Trev Alberts is leaving Nebraska for Texas A&M. Sam McCowan would know that, so we already covered that in an episode earlier today and in this live show. A lot of things going on. We're barely keeping up here at Peek Around the Corner. Holy smokes. We got more news coming in. I'll put it up a little bit later.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. The hot guy is in the house. Holy smokes. The floor is yours, sir.
I don't know what's bigger news to me today. If it's, obviously there's talk about the CFP, Greg, but as an Iowa guy, the situation over in Nebraska has me a little worried.
Why is that?
They're without a president.
Yeah.
Now they're without an AD.
Yeah.
And things tend to happen when ADs move places. They tend to look at having their own people. I've been talking about this tonight. I know some people think it's crazy, but I think that Rule is going to be going to A&M.
Well, they got Mike Elko there.
Yeah, so?
Maybe in a couple. I will say this. I know,
but it's A&M. It's A&M.
Yeah.
Well, general rules don't apply.
Yeah, but I will say this. Matt Rule has, if there's an opportunity, let's say Nebraska goes 7-5 and make it to the first bowl game in 7 years. Mm-hmm. He now has a runway to go somewhere else. This kind of unties the cord between Matt Rule and Nebraska. The reason he went there was because of Carter and Alberts. That's what he said over and over and over again. Yep. And now they're both gone. I wonder what he's thinking right now.
Here's the thing. Alberts, I know he's highly respected, but is that highly respected that he was an obvious the guy, or is there maybe some other little aspect connected to him that brings him above the others? Because nothing against Elko, but he was not what they went through all of that for. I don't even remember who the other guy was, but there was another guy that they wanted to be that head coach. The reason why they went and spent so much money to move Jimbo on, and then that went to all hell, and Elko was kind of the fill-in.
Really?
It's not a bad fill-in. There was another guy, and there was a scandal, and there was a lot of pushback, and so they had to drop the guy that they were originally going to get, and I'm sorry, the name's lost me right now.
Yeah.
But Elko was not the main guy that A&M was going for. He was the fill-in. And then after all that, the AD that caused all that to happen took off.
Yeah.
And so as a new AD coming in, he might want his guy, and his guy knows Texas.
Well, I agree with Gold Black 45. Matt Rule probably wants the Penn State job.
Sure, but, the guy at Penn State, everyone keeps talking about he's going to get replaced. When was the last time he had a a season that didn't have double-digit wins. He's an alma mater too. Like you're going to sit there in a situation with no president, no AD, the people who brought you in, and here you are. You get an opportunity. I mean, if you're going to sit at Nebraska and wait for Penn State, or if you're going to sit at Texas A&M and wait for Penn State, right now, if you're looking at those two, which one of those two you think has a better chance of him actually building up his resume?
I don't know, actually. I mean, A&M.
And someone in chat says Mark Stoops. Yeah, I think that there was some scandal or whatever, or people pushed back. So the guys they thought they were getting is not who they got. They got Elko, which isn't bad. And quite frankly, if this goes that way, I think Elko would be a great guy at Nebraska, because that's kind of the new future they need to face. Is like, don't go out and get an all-star. Get a guy that would come sit there, help train up some guys to be better than what they were thought of as recruits. But yeah, I think one part of the reasons why they would look at Trev Alberts is because he could help bring in Rule. I mean, that guy knows Texas. He's been very successful there, and this is Texas A&M. They don't play by the same rules as everyone else. Money, it seems to be nothing to them. Like the amount that they paid to get rid of Jimbo to go get the guy they wanted, and that guy was not Elko. So we'll see. But that's my worry. Like, I'm more worried about Nebraska because their whole administrative woe is going on over there. That's actually worrisome in terms of just being a conference member.
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
I don't know what it shocked me. That's for sure. I was not, and I'll just say, just to get everybody a little inside baseball. I'm going to put this out there. I'm not going to expand on it, but Trev Alberts was very, very, very good at giving information out that he wasn't supposed to. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to miss him for that reason alone. Okay, well, what do you think about the big news on them? Looks like they might have an agreement, whatever the numbers are, we don't know, but on the distribution model by the end of the week.
I think it's real. One of the things I thought is I never, I tried to be as clear about as possible. I never believed really the whole AQ thing. I tried to point out, like, look, they first got to figure out payout. They have to figure out voting structure. They got to do all this stuff. So I trying to look at it and make sense of it, because it quite frankly did not make sense being presented as a tournament model. The only way it kind of made sense to me was that this is their way of socializing the discussion out in public while not trying to give away all their cards. That was really just had to do more with the payout and with voting. And so the 5 plus 9 at 14, that makes a lot more sense. That's just the 12 plus 2 more. Mm-hmm. Like I think that makes a lot more sense. And so I think that that's what everyone would agree on. But I also don't necessarily think that means that this is their long-term solution. Yeah. This, to me, feels like this will get us to the next thing that we want to do.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily believe the 5 plus 9 is going to come out on top here. It might. Okay. It's gaining traction, but I'm not sure.
Okay. What else do you think there might be?
Well, it's just like this comment here, King Spleen. Doesn't the 5 plus 9 nearly ensure the Big 12 ACC G5 will not get more schools in the playoffs? The 9 at-large spots will be decided by a committee paid by ESPN. They choose based on TV viewership. Maybe it's gaining traction, but you know how it is. Maybe the Big 12 and the ACC, they got together, and maybe they're going to want that 3-3-2-2 to make sure they get 2 in. I don't know. I'm just saying it's gained traction. I hope it makes it. I hope it gets to the finish line, because that's what I want. But
well, if the report's true, isn't this 5 plus 9 what the Big 12 and ACC presidents voted to approve?
No. The format has not been approved. It just says 5 plus 9 is gaining traction. But Ross Dellinger goes over the other options as well. What they approved on, and I'll read it here.
Okay.
The new revenue model. Well,
Yeah.
it's you know what? It's murky. It's murky.
Okay.
Presidents in the ACC and Big 12 voted to authorize their commissioners to adopt a future framework related to a new CFP, including a new revenue model and concepts around a playoff format, of which will be part of the new contract. The two leagues were thought to be the most resistant to the deal. The president vote is viewed as a significant hurdle, but it goes through each and every possibility on the playoff model, and it says the 5+9 is gaining traction. Now, I don't know, but it hasn't crossed the finish line yet, so.
It just seems to me like that's when you're having so much problems trying to get some newer, fancier, way more complicated solution passed, you just fall back to what, we already agreed on a 5+7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the fallback.
Yeah.
And that's why whether it goes maybe like you're saying in the future with the much more complicated one in the future once they have more time, maybe absolutely. I tend to think
and maybe immaculate, maybe a 5+9, they just do it and they know they're going to have that look-in clause if there's material realignment. And so let's just get the revenue model done. Okay, put up the 5+9, and we can adjust from that a lot easier than if we had all these automatic qualifier spots. That could be too.
Yeah, and as far as the G5 goes, no, 5+9. I mean, you're getting one school in. You get one team in.
Yeah.
So they were looking to maybe try and maybe some of those other things. Still, that's what it looked to be, though. Like, it was always just one G5 spot and then a few. I would say that they actually might have a better shot of getting in with this than with those other ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more charges. Not that it's a great chance, but more shots is more shots, whereas before, if there's only like 1 to 3 at-larges, you're probably not getting one of them. Maybe the numbers are actually the same. I don't know. But, to me, this makes sense. Not long-term, but just because they're in such a time crunch. Yeah. Okay, let's just do this. We'll give this to the network partners. Say, hey, look, this is it. Who wants to bid? Who wants to come in on this? Because that's what I think the whole push is they're trying to get bidders in right now. And, if you're sending signals that we have no idea what we're even going to do, well, no one's going to give you a bid because they're not going to know what they're bidding on. So, I'm cautiously optimistic that this is what we're going to see by the end of the week will be announced. And then who knows from there, right?
Yeah, we don't know. And we don't know, right? We keep talking about the percentages, 58%, 32%, 58 SEC, Big 10, 32 Big 12, ACC, and then the remaining is Notre Dame and the G5. But we don't know if that is what the final numbers they've settled on either. We don't know much. We just know it looks like it's going to happen by the end of the week, right?
Yeah, that seems to be a deadline of some sorts, whether that's ESPN dropping their bid or some other companies. I'm not sure. But, it sounds like it's going at a pretty good pace. So I would say we probably a good chance we get that announced. But
got it.
I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes like a 2-year thing, like a 2-year looking window after that or something. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I don't know. I found that interesting. I was out and about today and saw it and thought I'd come and hear what you had to say on it.
Beautiful, Immaculate. Thanks for the call, sir.
Really, man. Have a good day.
You too. For those who have joined us late here, breaking news, Ross Dellinger Sources, college football playoff leaders are close to finalizing an agreement for the future. The college football playoff is inching closer. The college football playoff is inching closer to finalizing its agreement for the future. The presidents of the ACC and the Big 12 voted to authorize their commissioners to adopt the future framework related to a new CFP, including a new revenue model, which we don't know the exact numbers on, and a concepts around a playoff format. Concepts, that's in plural. That's more than one. Maybe they agreed on these are our options, and then we'll figure it out from there. All of which will be a part of the new contract with ESPN. Maybe they're doing that so they can get to the point where they accept the offer from ESPN by Friday. I don't know. I'm just speculating. The two leagues, ACC and the Big 12, were thought to be the most resistant to a deal. Their presidential vote is viewed as a significant hurdle crossed to reaching an agreement. The Big 12 and the ACC votes were unanimous, sources told Yahoo Sports. The CFP Management Committee, and this is the money shot of the article. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Hold on. This is the money shot. The CFP Management Committee, the Management Committee, the 10 FBS Conference Commissioners and Notre Dame's Athletic Director are expected to meet over the next few days in a gathering that should produce some finality, not all, but some, on what's been a long, dramatic march to the gold rush, the playoff structure beginning in 2026. Each conference in Notre Dame will be asked to either commit or not to the new CFP framework. It's put up or shut up. Are you committing to it or not? The expectation, pending the approval from each conference presidential board, is that all 10 conferences will commit. Most notably, they will commit to a new revenue distribution model, parameters around a playoff format, not the exact format, and a new governance structure. So the new revenue distribution model, it's going to get done. It looks like, ladies and gentlemen, a new revenue distribution model is going to get done. A new governance structure is going to get done. And then parameters. Not quite knowing exactly what the playoff format's going to look like, but they probably have set options that they're going to discuss more here in the near future. Notre Dame is supportive of the framework. So that is the big breaking news of today. And I'm looking to see if there's any more reporting, any more recent reporting on this. But that is big news. It looks like by the end of the week, we are going to have what we want. Well, I shouldn't say that. It looks like we're going to have some finality. Some finality. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our College Football's Peek Around the Corner college football channel. Make sure you have your notifications on. Subscribe and have your notifications on, because we can come on live at any time. Anytime. So please have your notifications on. Smash the like button if you liked our content today. If you did not, please hit the thumbs down button and let me know how we can better serve you as a college football fanatic. I want to thank everybody who's joined us for this live show, Wednesday live show. We covered Indiana Hoosiers. They were a spotlight team today. We did Trev Albert's news. We did the Florida State ACC news. Some more updates. With that, we covered it all. If you missed it, go back to the early part of the show. We've covered a lot of ground here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. So sometimes our shows go a little long. We got to cover so much. I want to thank everybody for the memberships, the added memberships for today, for Early Peak Cloak and Dagger memberships to our channel. If you want to become an Early Peak member, just go to the link provided in the description, hit the link, hit the join button, and become a Cloak and Dagger Early Peak member. We dropped an episode today. And well, I want to thank the phone calls that we had. We gotta close it up. The Wednesday's a very busy day for myself in the Little General. So I was happy to do. We were able to get we got an episode in today, episode 379. Check that out. Check out that Early Peak Cloak and Dagger episode that we dropped today, episode 27, and then a live show. If you just came in, go to the very beginning. We covered so much. Breaking news once again. It looks like we're going to have some finality to the 2026 playoffs, what they're going to look like going forward. Stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner for everything college football. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great